أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين صلوات على محمد وآله How do I, oh, okay. So you guys are kind of part of my own experimentation here of learning how these things all work. So I don't know what I'm doing myself at the moment, so bear with me. Who's really good at this stuff and wants to help me?
What is it?
Trying to figure out why is it going into showing me the notes and when I'm going to slideshow. That's what I thought. So isn't this presentation right here? Slideshow? Presentation?
I don't see your cursor.
Right, bottom corner here. Right? This should do it.
Yeah.
This is what I clicked.
Okay.
I don't want to see notes. I don't want to go through that. I just want to kind of see.
You just want to see the screen?
Yeah, I just wanted to see. No.
More slideshow.
Yep. Okay, now it's, so you guys are seeing it without that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you guys were seeing it with.
No.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. I like that. All right. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, you guys need some coffee too, it seems, huh? So, welcome and thank you for joining us. I don't know if everybody outside will be hearing us, if they can hear us, if they can't, but we'll get started right now anyway. The Islamic tradition of preparing for the month of Ramadan before it comes is something that was instituted by our Holy Prophet, actually. And preparing for the month of Ramadan is one of the ways that we extract the benefit of this month in its entirety, and its significance and speciality is such that it really is something special and different. If you take a look at it, we go through a spiritual heightening season of actually training and preparation for this month when we begin with Rajab. That Rajab holds a special status of seeking forgiveness, Sha'ban holds a special status of connecting with the Prophet, and then the month of Ramadan is the connection with Allah and the benefits for the believer. So this month is something so particular that Allah actually built a ramp up to its process and to its attachment and didn't just place it randomly in the middle of the calendar so as to make sure that we take advantage of everything that is in this month. Our goal, we're going to talk about three different things. So this is kind of like the preparatory section that we'll talk about. There are 3 10 to 15 minute conversations that I want to have. One is around the philosophy of this month. 2 is around some of the fiqh and Islamic law. And 3 is around the concept of spirituality in this month. Now, to be very clear, there's a couple points that I want to kind of point out here. Nothing in our conversations tonight is exhaustive. These are introductory points. And in general, one of the important elements that I want you guys to learn about in general is that whether it's the pulpit, whether it's a program, any conversation that you have in this format, whether monologue or dialogue, is an introductory process of a conversation. An exhaustive conversation where you feel confident that you've exposed yourself to a majority of the material or main points of the material happens in a classroom setting with text. Absence of a text and absence of a classroom, expect that you're in introductory phase and there are points that you will cover and points that you won't cover just by the nature of the interaction. So sessions like this are not intended to be exhaustive. They're intended to be focal points that kind of point out some major elements to pay attention to, but the specifics of the item will again require additional investment, resources, and information. So just because, for example, we have a discussion here, it doesn't mean that this is black and white and everything is done. No, there's plenty of gray areas that still need to be discussed. However, the minutiae are things that usually either don't apply to majority of people, or 2, are unique scenarios that happen very rarely, and which is why we reserve them, that when somebody has a question, ask the question. On the basis of that is why we've also set up a Slido to run with this simultaneously, and the Slido number is on the bottom of this slide and on the bottom of every slide. So if we're discussing something and you find yourself having a question, go to the Slido and put in the question so we can discuss it. Has everybody here worked with a Slido before? Anybody not worked with a Slido before? Okay. A Slido, so if you go to slido.com, is a website where you can ask questions, see questions that other people are asking, and even upvote those questions to give them a higher priority so that we can ask them. All your questions are anonymous. Nobody knows who's asking the question. The other thing is that there's about 3 polls that I put into Slido this time, so if you log into the Slido, at certain points, I'll remind you that there's a poll that we can take, and we can, have the opportunity to answer a question that I'll make live for you, that you can answer the question and be part of the conversation. We can kind of see how things progress and where things go with this. So the benefit of that is that, look, and let me be very honest with you, the coming generations, they don't behave the way the previous generations did. Okay, I'm not trying to be mean, but look, there's a lot of look for anonymity. Kids don't want to be exposed when asking a question. There's a lot of looks for example, hesitation, asking questions and showing the fact that I don't know information. Tools like Slido make it a little bit easier where you can interact with the community, you can ask a question, but you don't have to give up the comfort of your anonymity or exposing the fact that you don't know something. So which is why tools like this, I like them, I use them, I think they're beneficial. Ideally, I would love for you to be comfortable to come up to me and to ask a question, or to ask a question in a group setting, but that's not what the expectation is. The expectation right now is simply that if you have a question, go to slido.com. Our event number is 3980023. It's on every single slide. Post your question there, and then when we get to the polls, just follow along with the polls as well too. So 3 things we'll discuss: some of the philosophy, some of the fiqh and law that's associated with this month, and some of the spirituality, and we'll pause in the middle for questions as well too. So, philosophy of the holy month. This month, as I mentioned, has a build-up to it. It didn't just show up out of nowhere. It's something that required preparation. It's something that required a special status. And it holds a uniqueness in the eyes of Allah that pre-exists Islam, actually. One of the interesting attributes of this month, of Shahr Ramadan, is that the divine scriptures, not just the Quran, were revealed in this month. So meaning that Allah had given this a priority even in the advancement of Islam, which is why when our Prophet begins, he makes a time to address the importance of this month. So which is why there's a really important speech given by our Holy Prophet. And part of the things that I hope to kind of expose to you guys as we move forward in things is that there are certain famous things out there that if someone doesn't tell you about them, like we talked about last night with Munajat al-Sha'baniyah, you won't know and you may miss something. This sermon of the Holy Prophet, which is known as the sermon of the last Friday of Sha'ban, is super famous, super important, and talks about why and how to extract benefit from this month. And our Prophet begins. He says, indeed ahead of you. So imagine the last Friday before Shahr Ramadan, indeed ahead of you is the blessed month of Allah. A month of blessings, mercy, and forgiveness. A month which with Allah is the best of months, its days the best of days, its nights the best of nights, and its hours the best of hours. Meaning that of all of time in creation, if something exists in the best of statuses, it's this month. It is the month which invites you to be the guest of Allah, invites you to be one of those near to Him. Each breath you take glorifies Him. So each breath of yours in this month is tasbih. So nafasukum fihi tasbih wa nawmukum fihi ibadah, and your sleep is worship of Allah. Your deeds are accepted and your prayers are answered. It's basically kind of like, everybody played Super Mario, right? What happens when you get to star? Anything stop you? No, you're good to go. It's that same concept that you're in star mode during this month. So the Prophet says, if you have this special status, what do? Ask Allah, your Lord, to give you a sound body and enlighten your heart so that you may be able to fast and recite His book. Look at the question. Look at the statement the Prophet's making. He's saying, ask for a sound body and enlightened heart, not for everything, but so that you can take advantage of this month. That this is, if nowhere else during the year I'm healthy, let me be healthy this time of year because it's that special. For only he is unhappy who is devoid of Allah's forgiveness during this great month. Remember the hunger and thirst of the day of Qiyamah, of the day of judgment. With your hunger and thirst, give alms to the needy and poor. Honor your old, show kindness to your young ones, maintain relations with your blood relations. Guard your tongues, close your eyes to that which is not permissible for your sight. Close your ears to that which is forbidden to hear. Show compassion to the orphans of people, so compassion may be shown to your orphans. This entire discussion is do all the good things you should be doing anyway, and they'll be worth a lot more. It'll be that important. This is where the Prophet gets into a lot of specifics, which is really interesting. Our Prophet goes, he says, "O people, one who gives iftar to a fasting person during this month will be like the one who has freed someone, and his past sins will be forgiven." This is a really interesting point. Did the Prophet say the person has to be, for example, a poor person? Did the Prophet say that, for example, it has to be someone less than you? You see, one of the contemporary issues that has crept into our society is, why do we feed the mu'mineen? Everybody here has money they can eat. Why not go feed the poor people outside in Camden or in Philly who are hungry? Here the Prophet specifying that feeding a person is not identical across the board. He's showing and pointing out that one of the superiorities that's possessed is someone who worships Allah. Feeding him is something incredibly important and valuable. Which is why he's saying that feeding a fasting person during this month, one who does ibadat of Allah in this month, will be as if you freed a slave and your past sins will be forgiven. Who amongst us doesn't want this? So one of the people says, some of the people who were there asked the Prophet, not all of us are able to invite those who are fasting. Meaning that even at that time, people were poor. So what? Because I'm poor, I'm not entitled to this benefit? I can't do these good things? Because I don't have money? Ya Rasulullah, I'm not entitled to this? Look at the Prophet's reply. He says, Allah gives a reward even if the iftar is a drink of water. Don't give anything else. Give water if you have nothing else to give. Give a date if you have nothing else to give. One of the beauties of the barakat of this is, there's another hadith that points to one who opens the fast of a believer receives the same reward as the one fasting. Those who recognize hadith like this, you'll see them compete, that they'll stand by the door with the dates. Hey, let me give you a date. Let me open your fast. They'll show up. Why? Because they recognize the honor and the dignity that a person who is fasting has is so much in the eyes of Allah that giving him anything changes your status with Allah, and it makes it very special. One who has good morals, akhlaq, during this month will be able to pass the sirat on the day that feet will slip. One who covers the faults of others will benefit in that. Allah will curb his anger on the day of judgment, and for one who honors an orphan, Allah will honor him on the day of judgment. These two previous points, one of the important points of this philosophy is, one of the things that happens every year in the month of Ramadan, every year, every community. I have spent a few years of Ramadan with this community, but one of the things I'll tell you, every community, every year, guess what happens? Fights, there you go. We wind up fighting more with Abbas, Haider, Ali, than we do with John, Quincy, and Felicia. Do you know why? Because we spend more time with Muhammad, Ali, and Abbas. And Felicia, I may only see at school. Or, Quincy's only at work. And I don't care about work. So I don't fight with them because it's not important and I'm not there often. But guess what? You spend 30 nights with a group of people. Every single night, somebody's going to irritate you. It's going to happen. The significance of this passage that the Prophet's talking about, the Prophet said, one who has good morals during this month will be able to pass the sirat. Me doing good to you and not picking a fight with you and looking past the conflict that we have isn't for your benefit. It's for my benefit. I need it. Doing good with our community is not something that, for example, benefits them. Yeah, it's a great thing. It makes our community solid. But really, I need to be selfish. I need to think about, is it more important that I tell you I hate the way you make chai every day this month? Or is it more important that Allah helps me on the day of judgment? Am I more upset about the fact that, you don't pick up your plate after your meal? Or am I just really hangry and it's coming out now? Being conscious of this is really important, which is why the Prophet points it out, that in this month you're going to spend time together every day and you're going to have conflicts. Overlook the conflict not because the person deserves it, but because there's something you need from Allah, and this is one of the only ways that you can get it. And he continues, and for the one who spreads his kindness, Allah will spread his mercy over him on the day of judgment. As for the one who cuts ties and relations, Allah will cut his mercy from him. One whosoever performs a recommended prayer in this month, Allah will keep the fire of hell away from him. Whoever performs an obligatory prayer, Allah will reward him with 70 prayers worth in this month. And whosoever prays a lot during this month will have his load lightened on the day of measure. He who recites one verse of Holy Quran will be given the rewards of reciting the whole Quran during other months. Do you know how important that statement is? How amazing the barakat of this month are based upon just that statement? This question, or this statement of the Prophet that he makes in this final line that we're sharing, and there is more. This conversation actually continues. This is a little bit longer. is to say that doing those things that you should be doing anyway, Allah just keeps increasing the reward to a point that you can't imagine. This hadith, this narration, famously ends with Imam Ali standing up and asking, Ya Rasulullah, you've given us all these wonderful things to do in this month. What's the best thing to do in this month? What do you think? I didn't write it down, so it's not in here. You're not going to see it. No? Nobody knows? Nobody wants to take a guess? Reading Quran? No, it's something even more than that. What do you got, Muhammad Ali? No sinning. Very good. Salawat for Muhammad Ali. Get this. The Prophet's statement to Imam Ali. First of all, look at the beauty of Imam Ali's question. The Prophet's giving him all these wonderful things to do, and Imam Ali says, what's the best thing to do? The Prophet's statement is just don't sin in this month. That's it. Why? Because your sleepiness is ibadah, your breathing is tasbih, you're already getting tons of reward. Just don't do anything that violates that reward. Which brings us to our first poll. Are you guys ready? Let's go to our poll and we'll start the poll. Let me see, how do I get to that page? Can you guys, oh, you can't see it. How do you not, how do I? I think I froze it and then, how do I unfreeze it? I saw freeze, I don't know how to unfreeze. Did it unfreeze? No, it didn't. All right, question number 1. See, that's what I was saying. I don't know what I did wrong. I broke them? What did I do? Yeah, you can have all of it. All right, there's a poll open on Slido. I don't know if you guys can see it over there. I don't know what I did. I broke it. I broke everything. That's what I did too. Oh, that's clever. I like that. That's very good. I like that. Okay. I didn't know we could do that. Okay, hang on. So what do I? It's about. Gather things, but I don't know how to do it. Do we go like this? Oh, look at that. Okay. All right. Okay, and then I can go back. Thank you very much. Now that's really cool. I didn't know that. That's really cool. Okay, no? Okay, here we go. So everybody's voting. So the question is, do we wait for this month all year, or is this the training for the rest of the year? What do you guys think? We'll give it another few seconds to see what the votes come in as. So, right, the question's clear, right? Is this month, like boot camp, 30 days of boot camp for the rest of the year? Or is 11 months in preparation for this one event? Like, is this like the Olympics of a Muslim? Where you spend 11 months training to get to this 1 month where you get to show off everything you do and see if you get a gold medal? Or is this the 1 month where you leave everything and go to boot camp so that you have 11 months that go really well? What do you guys think? I think we're done voting, huh? Ooh, there are some over. Okay. All right, I think that's okay. So we believe that this is the training session for the rest of the year. Or is the rest of the year training for this month? Nope. No, that's not it. Let's go back. Hold on. I can do this, I promise. Have faith in me. So, is this what we wait for? Or is this what we train for all year? Both of these perspectives are really interesting. And they both have value and merit to them. And the answer is it's both. It's both, but from different aspects. It depends on the perspective that I take a look at. When we look at this month as boot camp, it's boot camp in the context of the fact that it's training us to combat sin and preparing us to come back to a year of behaving and having a clean slate, being God conscious, being socially connected to our community, creating generosity, empathy, and human concern for what we do in this month. For the rest of the year, all of these things will behave differently if we use this month correctly. We'll have better self-control. Because if I can stop eating all day and stop drinking all day, then I can stop yelling at Jorge at work and be like, hey, you suck, Jorge. I can stop that because it's like, no, if I can do without water, I can leave Jorge alone and not yell at him. It makes me God conscious for the rest of the year. That if I use this month correctly, and we'll talk about that in spirituality, how do we increase our God awareness? It can improve my social connection, my community connection by being here, by being involved and not fighting with my community. Not complaining to Abdul about the fact that the food is always spicy. It improves my generosity throughout the year that when I make sacrifices in this month, the rest of the year I'm more willing and able to and well aware of the good things that I can do with my time and money. All year you prepare for this. Why? Because this is the bonus round. This is where you exert extra effort and worship. So this is where you earn the most reward possible. This is where you expiate all of your sins and mistakes. And one of the statements of our Prophet is, one who has left this month without being forgiven, when else is left for them to be forgiven? If you don't get it in this month, when else? What else is there like this? And taking advantage of the mercy of Allah. One of the things that we should be doing throughout the year, and this is a really important element, right? Learn new ibadat 11 months so that this month you have something extra you can do. Instead of trying to learn, okay, how do I recite Salatul Layl now that it's Shahr Ramadan and I want to take the benefit? No, learn in the 11 months so that this month I can do really cool and amazing things because it's that valuable and that important. So which is why it's a question of perspective when we look at the month of Ramadan, that am I training all year to get to this point in time? Or is this year my training to benefit me for the rest of the year? Both answers have validity depending upon the perspective that we're taking a look at our life. But the true thing is that we should use it both ways. Is that, look, 11 months out of the year, I'm going to read as much Quran as I can. I'm going to get really good at reading Quran. Why? So when the month of Ramadan comes, I can read even more Quran than I did last year. I can read Dua Abu Hamza Thumari. I can read Joshan Kabir. Why? Because I spent some time preparing for it. So that when this month comes, I can do something special. How many of us, when the 100 rakat comes, are afraid of that 100 rakat? Why are you afraid of it? It's because you didn't prepare for it. You didn't invest any time throughout the year to get ready that this is something I want to do. So it became scary. And the same way, what I did in this month shouldn't end in this month. Many times what happens, the first day, after a day of Eid, I know me personally, I drink about 6 cups of coffee. In my life, there's no other day that I drink 6 cups of coffee but the day of Eid, because why? 30 days, it's over, I can drink coffee now. Get back to the caffeine headaches as quickly as I can. That's not the way we want to do it with all of our sins, that okay, fine, 30 days I didn't sin, now it's like, okay, back to normal. No, we have to bring these changes, and the same thing, that boot camp should last us, and its impact should stay with us. So one of the important questions, why do we fast? Actually, no, wait. Let me go back. Don't read the screen. Don't read the screen. Okay, there we go. Okay, we're back to this. Let me open another poll for you guys. Let's go back. Let's do another poll. Fast. Here you go. Next poll. Why do we fast? And I'll show you guys. Okay, hang on. Let me get off of this. Yep. Now let's go back. Oh. So it's a pretty even, almost a pretty even spread right now. Oh, okay, no, to purify ourselves is where we're going, okay. Oh wait, to lose weight, that was an option too, nobody. By the way, for those who have noticed, the white people have picked up on it and called it intermittent fasting. All right. It's kind of interesting. Okay, to purify ourselves seems to be the clear leader, followed by to gain patience, to gain piety, feel the hunger of others is in the running as well too, but to lose weight just really kind of, only one person was willing to admit to that one. All right, let's go back to our presentation now, if I can find it. Here we go. Why do we fast? All of the reasons are valid. See, okay, that's the only other trick question I have. After this, no more trick questions. I promise. No more trick questions, I promise. I had to kind of get past that. I wanted to tell you the truth in the beginning that there were 2 trick questions. I couldn't resist. Listen, humanity has been exposed to Islam 1400 years ago until the Day of Judgment. The capacity of people to appreciate what Allah has commanded them to do is different by person, environment, time, education. Fasting as an institution is wajib, meaning that the actual reason of why we fast is reserved with Allah. But the wisdom of it, the benefits we can extract from it, are all things that are going to be good for us and positive for us, which is why there's teachings of Ahlul Bayt that point to each of these reasons, because the capacity of the listener was limited to what they could handle. And this is the beauty of it. The difference between an imam and a normal person is, a normal person answers your question based upon their ability. I tell you what I know. I can't tell you more or less than that. But an imam who possesses perfect knowledge, when he answers your question based upon your capacity of what you can absorb. So which is why we can find all of these as the wisdoms, all of these as benefits of fasting. So see, let's take a look at these. Fasting is a means to feel the hunger and the thirst of the poor so that you may be more inclined to help them, from Imam Ali. Fasting is a means of testing the sincerity of the servants of Allah, piety, from Imam Ali. Fasting is 1/2 of patience, and patience is 1/2 of faith, is the balance of that hadith from our 6th Imam. Showing what? That fasting is what? Fasting is feeling the hunger of the poor. It's showing a path to taqwa and piety. It's giving us 1/2 of patience. Fasting of the heart is better than the fasting of the tongue, and the fasting of the tongue is better than the fasting of the stomach. It's a process by which we purify ourselves. And fast and you shall attain good health. It's a way of losing weight, of being healthier. Our Amir al-Mu'mineen would explain and say that, for example, majority of the diseases of the body come from the stomach, so take care of your stomach and your diseases will go away. Imam Sadiq has a hadith at the same extent as well too. But why are all these different points mentioned? Because these are the wisdoms of fasting. This is the philosophy of fasting, of showing you that all these benefits are things that you can attain. And depending upon your capacity, you'll reach to different levels of being able to appreciate this month of fasting. And the reason that there are so many conversations about this subject is it's that important. This is not just another month that we go across. This is something special. All right, we'll stop for a second if anybody has any questions before we move on to section 2 of our conversation. So there's a Slido out there. Let's take a look at the Slido and see if there's anything in there. No questions there. So if you want to ask a question, we'll give it a second. I can see it over here. I won't load it on the screen until we're ready. Or if we should. Let me go back and pause the slideshow. Okay. Let's go back and take a look at the slide really quickly. Oh, no, here we go. All right, we got 2 questions so far. If you are farther than qasr distance from home at the time of Fajr, is it true that your fast is valid for the day as long as you get home before Dhuhr time? Yes, that is true. Mark has answered. What if you have sports in the month? So, this is an interesting question with regards to the idea that, what's my priority? And this is a conversation that I have on a variety of different subjects that talk about that how do we make Islam a priority in this month? Not just in this month, in general in your life. Most of our lives are dictated by our culture and our environment. Let me give you an example. What's December 25th? Are you all Christians? You're not. What was February 14th? 15th Shaban? Do you see what happens? Our culture dictates what's important, and we remember things that are culturally significant. But for us as Muslimin living in this place, at times you have to step up and make your religion more important than your culture. You have to step away from society and say, no, this is something important no matter what society wants me to do. I have to change my behavior. For example, the day of Ashura is a normal day for people here. Nothing changes outside. Does that mean I should behave like nothing changed? No, my faith should dictate that my behavior has to change. So in the same concept that, yeah, you can play sports in the month of Ramadan, it's not a problem. It's not. But if it impedes the fact that I can fast in this month, should I change my behavior? Should I leave it alone? That's your discretion to make that decision. It's not haram to play sports. It's not forbidden. You absolutely can. But if I'm going to play sports and the consequence of that playing is going to be is that I can't fast, for example, that I get so sick that I can't fast, or 2, that I'm mean to my parents, or 3, that, for example, I don't go to the masjid, I don't pray, I don't fast, I don't do any ibadat except for just open my fast and go to sleep. What did I do different for this month? Did I take the words of the Prophet seriously? Did I apply them? So right, there's nothing that stops me from playing sports in this month. There's nothing that says, haram. No. But the consequence of it is what was my priority? Was my priority being like Bob and George and Rachel and Jessica? Or did my being Fatima and Ali and Muhammad mean something to me more than my name? And that my being Fatima and Ali and Muhammad made me change my behavior because something that's important to a Fatima, Ali and Muhammad happened, and George and Bob and Georgina can't appreciate it. I don't know. I'm going to come up with all sorts of names. You're going to hear all sorts of things from this one. Is swallowing saliva or something you cough up? Okay. Oh, this is a 2-part question, by the way. Swallowing your saliva in your mouth is okay. Now, especially for some of those who cook, I won't specify which ones are the ones that are doing all the cooking. But if you cook and some saliva comes in your mouth because of the deliciousness of the food that you're cooking, it's allowed to swallow that saliva. If I'm really hungry and thirsty and I start thinking about a watermelon and saliva comes into my mouth, that saliva is halal, it's not haram, I can swallow that saliva. But if I cough something up, or I have some postnasal drip, look, if it comes into my mouth, I can't swallow it. Let me explain why. Let's go back to our presentation, shall we? Let's go back to the presentation. The fiqh of fasting. What things break our fasts? There are 8 things that break our fast. The first of them is eating and drinking. Eating and drinking encompasses anything that goes down my throat into my stomach. So once it enters the mouth, even if it came from my throat itself, it came up. It came up. I'm trying. I'm not good at the sound effects. I'm working. It came into my mouth. Now if I put it back down, I started the process of eating because it's something going down my throat into my stomach. Same thing with if it comes out of my nose, let's say it's a postnasal drip. If it goes into my mouth and then it goes down, it started the cycle of eating or drinking. Which is why doing anything that I can orally put into my mouth, drink, eat, and it goes to my stomach, I can't do it. It's going to break my fast. So there are some points to pay attention to in this, right? What about something that doesn't go into my stomach? It goes into my lungs. For example, an inhaler or a nebulizer. If it's medically necessary, if I need it, I'm allowed to use it and it doesn't break my fast. Because again, it's not going down the digestive, it's not entering the digestive tract. The other thing, if I need to get an IV, or if I need to get a shot, it's permissible because it's not eating or drinking. It's not entering into the digestive tract. Number 2, intimate relations with our spouses. I think we're all smart enough to know what that means. Istimna, which is the Arabic word for, and I'm going to be, there's a phrase in Islamic studies called La haya fid din, there's no shame in religion. To expose the matters of religion should not have shame. Masturbation, it's haram. It voids the fast, it breaks the fast, it's haram, it's not allowed. ascribing a lie to Allah. Ascribing a lie to Allah, it's Allah, the Prophet, the Ahlul Bayt, and the family of the Prophet. That ascribing a lie to them is something that breaks my fast. One of the people who was famous for this, Abu Hurairah. Why do I mean that? He used to come up with hadith attributed to our Prophet that weren't from our Prophet. So meaning even if I say, if I ascribe a hadith to our Prophet that says, the Prophet said that somebody who wears gray socks definitely goes to heaven. If I say that while fasting, by the way, I'm wearing gray socks, just so you all know. If I say that while fasting, my fast is void. That fast is void, and it is something that I broke the fast, and I will be responsible for a kaffarah for that fast. So ascribing a lie to Allah, the Prophet, the Ahlul Bayt, which is why one of the things that's really important too is that if you're fasting and you hear something from the Ahlul Bayt, let's say a statement from the Ahlul Bayt, don't say Imam Ali said, don't say Imam Hussain said. Say, I heard a hadith from so-and-so person who narrated that Imam Ali said this. And if you can't say who it was from, then say the book. If you can't say the book, then say, I heard this statement from a speaker who said that Imam Ali said this. Rather than to say that I'm sure that Imam Ali said this, because guess what? If he didn't say it, what did I just do? I ascribed a lie to them. So we have to be careful of that. Thick dust reaching our throats. Most of us, alhamdulillah, don't work in construction. I'm not worried about it. Staying in a state of najasat, hayd, nifas, not najasat, staying in a state of janabat, hayd, nifas, until the time of fajr breaks the fast. That if we happen to be in a state of impurity that can be cleaned, it has to be cleaned before fajr, otherwise our fast is broken for that day. Using an enema, digestive tract, the opposite end, putting something through there, not allowed either. And vomiting intentionally. If a person vomits through sickness, if a person vomits through, for example, smelling something really bad, it's not an intentional vomit. It can happen that I vomit and my fast remains valid. It doesn't mean I have to keep fasting. Let's say I'm really sick and I vomited. I'm sick. I didn't intentionally vomit, but I'm sick. If I'm sick, then it's no longer, it's darar, it's harmful for me to fast. I don't have to continue fasting in that situation. So these are the 8 things that break our fast. These are the 8 things to pay attention to make sure that when we're in a state of fasting, we preserve our fast by making sure we don't do any of these actions. Now there are still some more important points to pay attention to as well too. So let's take a look at these. What is imsak? Oh wait, I was supposed to ask you that question, wasn't I? Hang on a second here. Let me just double check for a second. Yeah, okay. What is imsak? There's a poll for you. Let's do our poll. That's the last of the polls, and it's not a trick question this time, I promise. Yeah, sorry. Wait, no, that doesn't. Oh, wait, no, I'm frozen. Hang on. Oh, here we go. There we go. Question number 3. What is imsak? The moment your fast officially starts, stop eating now to make sure you don't violate your fast. Stinks to you since you can't eat anymore. And stop eating. I mean, it may stink to be you anyway, but is it because of imsak or otherwise? Okay. Good, we'll give it one more, let's give it another 10 seconds and then we'll continue from here. Ooh. All right, so there's a good amount of conversation around stop eating now to make sure you don't violate your fast. No, wait, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. The moment your fast is finished, okay, all right. Okay. So that nobody gets their votes in after, we'll stop the interaction there. Imsak literally translates to pull away from touching or interacting with something, to stop, to get away from something. Let me explain. The moment that our fast officially begins, Allah mentions in the Quran, وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكُمُ الْخَيْطُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنْ خَيْطِ الْأَسْوَدِ مِنَ الْفَجْرِ. Allah specifies the exact moment your fast begins in the Quran. And eat and drink until a white thread of dawn becomes distinct to you from the black thread of night. So literally, there is a moment at which you hold up a piece of thread and you can, instead of it just being that I can't see anything, you can tell the difference that this is white or this is black. That was the way that you would determine the exact moment of Fajr. Now the exact moment of Fajr, right? When it comes to calculating Fajr, there's a few things that go into place. There's called Subh al-Kadhib and Subh al-Sadiq. The earth, because it's round, the exposure to the sun, what happens is as the earth spins, you start to see the light from over the side of the curve of the earth before you can see the actual physical sun. So before you see that physical shape of the sun, the light of the sun starts to come over the curve. The way that light starts coming over the curve is that first it comes with some flashes of light, like the atmosphere allows like some little patches of light to go through. And when you're looking over the curve and there's no light pollution, I can see patches of light start to show up on the horizon. This is called Subh al-Kadhib because it's not really the entirety of the light of sun, it's just patches breaking through the atmosphere. As the earth turns a bit more, eventually what happens is you notice in the middle of the horizon, a column of light shoots up before you can see the sun, and that's called Subh al-Sadiq, the truthful morning. That moment when that column of light shoots up is the exact moment you have to start your fast. Now let me ask you something. With all of the light pollution we have today, who can with certainty say that in Delran, New Jersey, we know exactly the moment that a column of light shoots up over the horizon from the sun? Can anybody make that statement? I can't. So what happened? They came up with a system called imsak. They said based upon scientific information that we have and general information that we have, we can estimate that at this moment, just about, is the time of Fajr. But I can't say with 100% certainty because I can't test it and see the light. The other thing to know is because of the Earth's tilting on its axis back and forth, the tilt of the Earth changes a little bit every day. What that means is that every single day, the exact second that this happens changes. And what you need is, you need someone who can sit in absolute darkness, no light pollution, see the curvature and the horizon of the earth, and sit there for 365 days and calculate out the exact moment that this column of light shoots up. And then the second thing is, I need to trust that person. So it can't be Jorge. Unless if Jorge is Jorge Muhammad, then it can be Jorge. But Jorge, the non-Muslim, won't be the guy who gets that authority because what's the consequence to him of telling me the truth? Now I can actually tell you that in Al-Khouy Center, Mohsen Adidina actually sat there, went out to the beach every day in that area and calculated this time for every single day of the year for 365 days out of the year. So that marhum did this work. So Al-Khouy Foundation's table that they put out, when they put out the timetable, they know exactly the time. Everybody else that I know of so far in the Northeast or in America that I've seen is doing estimation and calculation of when that time frame happens. The consequence of me not knowing exactly when that time frame is, exactly when that second takes place, when that column of light erupts on that particular day, is why we created something called imsak. Imsak is that guesstimate of saying that, okay, fine. If I stop eating at this moment, I'm 99 or 100% sure I didn't hit that second, I just don't know exactly where that second is. So which is why what you'll find is on our calendars now, we have a time for Fajr. We say Fajr definitely took place at this time. But what was the exact second that that time took place? I don't know. So what do? I set something in Imsak that says, hey, stop eating at this point in time because my Fajr can be a few minutes late and it's okay. But my fasting can't be a few minutes late. I can't delay my fasting till that moment that I'm sure the day came out. No, I have to stop exactly when Allah told me to. So which is why, that's why this concept of imsak exists. Is it wajib to observe imsak? No, it's not. If I can figure out the exact second I need to stop eating, I can stop eating at that second. I can eat until exactly, 5:48 and 31 seconds if I know. But if I don't know, how do I make sure that my fast is valid? And the tool of imsak is a created tool by us to make sure that we don't violate the rule of Allah. When do we end our fast? This is an interesting conversation as well too. Why because you'll find that all Muslims seem to have a different opinion about this. And it goes back to the same verse of Quran, Surah Baqarah, verse number 187, because after Allah tells us when to start our fast, He tells us when to end our fast. ثُمَّ أَتِمُّ الصِّيَامِ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ, and then complete your fast إِلَى اللَّيْلِ. This إِلَى اللَّيْلِ, there's a disagreement of what this means. إِلَى اللَّيْلِ, we say till the night. إِلَى اللَّيْلِ, other schools of thought interpret it as sunset. Sunset and layl are two different concepts. The same way that in the morning the light of the sun comes before we see the sun, the same way that the sun, the disk of the sun sets, but the light of the sun remains for a little bit longer. And that's why sunset and night are two different concepts. And we believe that the sky overhead has to be dark, meaning it has to be night over me. There may be light on the horizon, that's okay. So sometimes it'll happen if you're outside wandering around and you say, oh, it's time to open my fast, and you say, time sheet must be wrong, I can see light over there. Yeah, you can see light over there, not over there. This is where night comes from, when it's dark overhead, not when it's on the horizon. So the difference that we have is that there happens that when the sun sets, there's still light overhead. Until this light passes, we continue our fast. And that's what the difference is between us and the other schools of thought. That they wait for the disk of the sun to set, we wait for the light to pass because of the command Allah gave us. ثُمَّ أَتِمُّ الصِّيَامِ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ, until night, right? Who doesn't have to fast? There are three categories of people that don't have to fast. Someone who is not baligh, first and foremost. Someone not being baligh has more than one category. One is someone who's immature. Who else is someone that's not baligh? Yeah, I got it. It was a good answer. I don't want to call you out for it. But someone who doesn't have the mental capacity, someone who does not have mental maturity is not baligh. So they don't have to fast. Someone who is sick. Sickness can be of two types, right? The two types of sickness that can exist is, for example, I have the flu, or I have corona, or I have something that's a temporary sickness. And that temporary sickness is a legitimate reason for me not to fast, as well as, for example, the sickness that often comes with old age or with a chronic disease that prevents me from having the ability to fast. And the third is the traveler, someone who is in a state of traveling. Allah says that you do not have the responsibility to fast. And Allah specifies this again in the Quran. This is not something we chose to give categories to. فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخْرَى. That whoever among you is ill or on a journey during them, then an equal number of days are to be made up. The significance of mentioning this is traveling haram? Is getting sick haram? No. Should I feel bad if I'm sick? No. It's a normal part of life. Getting sick is a part of life. Getting sick is actually a rahmah, a mercy of Allah within itself. So these are things that exist, and it's like, yes, we want to fast with everybody, and it's good. Same way, traveling is not a sin. But should I avoid traveling this month? The same way that if I want to give priority to fasting, and think about it, look, you can travel, as long as it's not haram. Like, I'm not going to Atlantic City to play the slots. I can travel, don't play the slots. Please don't play the slots. It's haram, it's haram, it's haram. But I can travel. But it's better to delay that travel. Why? Because one, it's easier to fast when everybody else is fasting around you. It's much harder to fast when you have to fast alone. And two, there's a barakat of this month. This month is special. The reward you're going to get for that fast in this month, Allah's not promising it in another month. It's just an obligation. One of the important points to know because of this, right? Who doesn't have to fast? Is, let's say, tomorrow is the 1st of Ramadan. Do I get to choose if I'm fasting tomorrow? I want to fast, I don't want to fast. It's the 13th of Ramadan. I go to bed and I'm like, okay, tomorrow am I going to fast? Am I not going to fast? Is that a question? This is where it's interesting to realize something. For the 30 days from the 1st of Ramadan to the last of Ramadan, the default setting of every Muslim is, you are fasting. It's not a discretionary practice. I don't get to choose if I'm going to fast or if I'm not going to fast. I am fasting. It's really important to notice that, right? So, sometimes, you think like, and maybe as a child, before you were baligh and you wanted to fast, you would have a conversation with your parents, Mommy, Daddy, am I going to fast tomorrow? And they would say, no, beta, not today. And you would say, okay, I'm not fasting. But when you're baligh, there's no Mommy, Daddy, am I fasting tomorrow? you are fasting. You don't get to choose, I want to fast, I don't want to fast. You have to fast. The same way, if the time of dhuhr comes in and you're a baligh, sane adult, you have to pray. It's not like, oh, today no zuhr, tomorrow two zuhr, okay? No, you have to. In the same sense, it's understanding that this is automatically set for us. It's not a discretionary practice that I get to choose, am I going to fast, am I not going to fast? Which brings us to our next points. What is the difference between Fidya and Kaffarah? These are two statements that are thrown around when people can't fast or don't fast. And it's important to understand them. Allah in the Quran describes and says that if you're sick and you can't fast, then pay fidya, right? Fidya specifies that if you can't fast from sickness or traveling and you don't make up the fast in 1 year. Let's say, for example, for some reason, I wasn't able to fast last Ramadan. Now I have until this Ramadan comes to make up that fast that I missed. Let's say I didn't do it. Let's say I missed 18 fasts last year. I don't know why. Give me a good reason. Why didn't I fast for 18 days last year? I was sick? Traveling. I was insane. There you go. That's a good one. Sheikh Bilal lost his mind last Ramadan. He had no sanity. Still doesn't, but that's beside the point. For 18 days I didn't fast. Let's say I made up 8 of those fasts and I still have 10 to go. And Shahr Ramadan is coming and I can't make them up. Let's say tomorrow's the 1st. Those 10 days that I didn't fast, I have to pay now a penalty, which is called fidya. That I had 1 year to make up those fasts and I didn't, now I have to pay a fidya. The other reason I can pay a fidya is, let's say I was sick and I will never be healthy again. I lost my mind and it's never coming back. I will always be a few fries short of a Happy Meal. In that case, then every year I would pay the fidya instead of fasting. Or the third case that, for example, I just didn't get a chance to make up those fasts, or I was permanently sick, or I traveled and I didn't make up those fasts. I have to pay fidya. Now here's the thing. Let's say last year I missed those 10 fasts. I pay the fidya now. Next year comes, I still didn't make up those 10 fasts. Do I have to pay fidya again? No. One-time penalty. One-time penalty. So for example, it happens with our moms, that when we're born, our moms can't fast, for example. Let's say, and then the next year, we're growing up and she didn't get a chance to make up those fasts. She pays the fidya for 1 year, that I had fast left over from this year, from the birth of Ali. I gave the fidya once, now I have the rest of my life to make them up, and I don't have to pay a fidya for it again. Same way someone who's sick, permanently sick, they pay fidya once, and then they don't have to take care of it again as well. But here are some important points to pay attention to fidya. What is fidya? Fidya is equal to 750 grams of a staple food that people eat in an environment and region. When I have to pay fidya, I have to give 750 grams of food. It cannot be given as money. So what happens? When I give someone money to disperse fidya for me, I have to tell them it's fidya, because what I'm empowering that person to do is not give $2, $3, $4, $5 on my behalf to someone who's in need. I'm empowering them to take that money, convert it to 750 grams of food, and provide that 750 grams of food to a needy person. So fidya and sadaqah, charity, are two different things. Sadaqah I can give as food, I can give as money, I can give as coffee, I can give as gold bars, I can give as Bitcoin, I can do whatever I want. But when it comes to fidya, I have to specify that this needs to be converted to food, and I'm empowering my representative, if I can't do it, to give it on my behalf as food. It must be paid as food. It should be given to a mu'min. Meaning again, Jorge? No Jorge. Jorge Muhammad, yes. Jorge Jesus? No. And it should be for that first year after the fast is missed. This is different than a kaffarah. A kaffarah is the obligation to be done if I missed a fast without a valid reason. I just didn't fast. I didn't want to. Or I performed one of the mubtalat. I did one of those actions that void my fast. Then I need to perform a kaffarah. A kaffarah can be paid in one of 3 formats. It can be by feeding 60 poor people for each fast that I missed, by fasting for a period of 60 days, or by freeing a slave? And if you have slaves, talk to me afterwards. I'd like to know. How did you do that? It's even recommended that join between all these different ways of giving kafara, that if you fast for 60 days, also feed 64 people as an ihtiyat, as a precaution to make sure you've limited your responsibility. But along with that, you still have to make up the fast. So it's not that, okay, I fed 64 people, or I'll feed 61 poor people, and that'll take care of it. No, I still have to make up the fast. I fasted for 60 days, that's the penalty. The original fast still stands, I have to make it up. So which is why kafara is very serious. It is important and significant to understand that missing a fast without a reason is a sin. It's a sin. It's not something to do. All right? Before we continue on to our next section, we'll take a look and we see if we have any questions. This is a good time to put in any questions if you have them. Oh, you guys can see that, right? Okay. Yeah, I had a little bit of fun too, I'm allowed. I can't get off the screen though. Uh-oh. It doesn't, oh, okay, this time it worked. Last time it didn't. Okay, thank you. All right. Let's see, where's our slide? Let's take a look at our questions. Okay, we have 5 questions here. All right. Ooh, and one, ooh, up close too, look at this. Is it okay to wear chapstick while you're fasting? Yes, it is okay to wear chapstick, but don't eat it. Oh, yeah, no. Let's see what else we got here. I find myself during the state of fasting watching more and more of recipes and food videos. Will this invalidate my fast? It will not. But it is, so for example, to smell things or to be around things that tempt me is makruh. So it's better not to. It can be makruh to do that. But technically it's not haram. And we'll talk about this a little bit, watching these types of things while we're fasting in growing our spirituality as well. So, okay, well, we did this one, right? Swallowing saliva or something you cough up. We discussed that those are 2 different questions. Can I visit the dentist during class? Yeah, as long as you don't swallow anything, you can absolutely go to the dentist. You can keep your appointment. There's, for example, those barriers that they put in your mouth. You can ask them for that. You can reschedule an appointment if you think that there's going to be sensitivity or bleeding or look, if you're getting a tooth, you can't get a tooth extracted while you're fasting. I'll tell you that right now. Why? Loss of blood issues, swallowing blood issues. Let's just not even talk about it. I know that Qayem is a very big dentist community, but I am not a dentist fan. I have lots of friends who are dentists. I love them dearly, but I dread going in that chair. Anyway, can you use an asthma inhaler while fasting? And what if something goes in? What if some of it goes into the throat? So again, the consensus is, and again, the opinion of the ulama is that you need to ask a medical professional about this question. Medical professionals have overwhelmingly said that using an inhaler does not go into your stomach. That would actually devoid the purpose of its functionality. And the use of an inhaler goes into your lungs, which is then permissible for us to perform and to utilize. It is not a sin to do it. Should you do it unnecessarily? No. Should you do it in place of, for example, a cigarette? God forbid if you're a smoker? Absolutely. If you have an inhaler and you're smoking, that's really bad. But no, using it without purpose, obviously not. But if it's necessary and needed, it is permissible to use and it does not violate the fast. So it's okay. Is it wajib to stop eating at imsak or at the time of fajr? What is the difference? Islamic calendars have varying times for imsak and fajr, even with NJ itself. So again, use the calendar that is most appropriate to know. And the benefit of imsak, it's not wajib. But the opposite of not using imsak is, are you willing to risk that I violated my fast and didn't get credit for this fast? If you're willing to take that risk, don't use imsak. You don't have to. It's not wajib. But if I violated my fast, Allah's not going to give me credit for fasting on that day. I'm not going to get the reward of fasting, and I'll have an obligation that has to be presented before Allah. So the ihtiyat, the precaution is observe imsak. What we typically do is that if you find in your location, if you find 2 conflicting calendars, you take the earlier imsak and the later fajr. Okay, everybody got that? So conflicting times from my city. Now, if, for example, you're looking at the cities of Delran and you're looking at the cities of, for example, Somerset or Franklin, where MFI is, you're going to find a difference. Don't do that. Look for your own region. And now, alhamdulillah, many of these tools have calculations specifically to our townships that they've done the calculation to get us as close to our township timing as physically possible. Use that that's as close to your particular township. And then on that, if I still find differences, earlier imsak, later fajr. This way, I know I stopped eating definitely before Fajr started, and I prayed definitely when Fajr came in. So earlier imsak, later Fajr. All right? Let's see what else we got here. What benefits or rewards does a person who can't fast due to illness receive? The same as a fasting person. So there's this really beautiful hadith of the Ahlul Bayt that actually talks about this concept that says at times a mu'min becomes ill. What happens at that time? Allah says that I send angels to visit the believers when they're in ibadat. And if my angels come to visit that believer at the time of ibadat and they don't find that believer in the ibadat that he was normally doing, Allah rewards him the same because of his illness. He gets the same reward as if he would have if he was in that act of ibadat at that moment. So the beauty of it is that Allah doesn't take anything away from you if I can't fast for a legitimate reason. And the mercy of Allah is that He tells us in the Quran, He says, if you are sick, then don't fast. He's telling us this. Meaning that in His eyes, that action is still worthy of reward because you're doing what's your wadifa, what's your responsibility to accomplish. When you're sick, it's not your responsibility to fast. So me fasting in that situation when I'm sick and I'm not supposed to, there is a discussion that says, is that even something Allah wants you to do? Do you actually get rewarded for it? Does it actually get accepted? Because you're actually technically violating the command of the Quran. The Quran said, don't fast if you're sick. I fasted. Do I get a reward? There's a debate. So which is why, whatever our responsibility is what we fulfill, and which is why the thing is, always perform good ibadat regularly, that even when you miss it, Allah still rewards you for it because He says that whatever you did normally when you become ill, I give you the same reward as if you were there doing that action. Okay. If I'm a woman who missed fast due to the time of the month and I have not made them all up in time for the next year, do I have to pay fidya? Yes. Yes. That is something that has a fidya associated. Any fast. So let's say, for example, you missed 8 fasts and I made up 6. You pay fidya on 2 fasts. And then you make up the rest when you get the chance. Okay? What benefits or rewards does a person who can't fast due to... Okay, we did this one. Okay, we did that. Good. Okay. If someone has medical conditions like dry mouth or acid reflux, but they feel very guilty about not fasting, what is the Islamic... So again, depending on the medical condition, you would... There's 2 things, right? Seeking a medical opinion, can I fast? Finding out if I can fast, if I can't fast. And there are 2 things. Sometimes it happens, and I'll give you an example. Someone who's a diabetic, the doctor says don't fast. But that diabetic person feels confident that I have the ability to fast and I won't get sick. If I have confidence that I can fast in that situation, I'm allowed to fast in that situation. The other thing is that a doctor says don't fast. If you turn around and insist with the doctor something that, no, can you help me develop a technique or a format by which I can fast? Many times with a variety of medical conditions, there are still possibilities to fast. You have to adjust your medication schedules and your processes, but it's possible. One of the very common places where this happens is antibiotics. Doctor prescribes you penicillin 3 times a day. You say, oh, 3 times a day, I can't fast. And someone says, no, but wait, and you're like, shh, can't fast. But if you go back to the doctor and you say, hey, listen, I need to fast, a medication that I'm taking 3 times a day and I need to take 8 hours apart, I can't do because of my fasting. They will give you instruction or prescribe alternative medication or give you resources to help accomplish the goal that you have. A doctor doesn't know you need to fast unless if you talk to them. So it becomes important to have that conversation with your medical provider that this is something you're looking forward to, and preparing a plan to be able to, if you want to and if you can, to be able to benefit from this month by preparing for it and going through that process. Okay? Are you allowed to have mints or gum? No. No mints, no gum. You can brush your teeth though. So brushing your teeth is permissible. And what you do is okay, there's no dentist here, right? Okay. Okay. One of the things that they suggest is when you brush your teeth, don't spit out the extra stuff because it coats your teeth. In this month of Ramadan, spit everything out. And you can even rinse your mouth. And the smell or flavor that remains in your mouth of the mint is okay. It doesn't violate your fast. You don't have to keep spitting until the mint gets out of your mouth. Just simply cleaning out all your mouth and cleaning out everything that's in there, that which mixes with saliva, spitting it all out. If a little flavor of mint remains in your mouth, it's permissible. You're allowed to brush your teeth. But chewing of gum, which has, for example, they add flavor to it, they add some other things to it, we don't do that. And same thing with mints, they add things to them. We don't ingest anything. So same thing, the necessity of gum and how it's flavored, you will ingest something additional with your saliva, we don't do that. And same thing with a mint, you're ingesting something. Even if it has 0 caloric value, you're literally taking it and dissolving it and putting it down your throat. It's not allowed. All right, if you stop eating at Fajr according to your local Shia calendar, based on the intention that I trust the calendar, ignoring the imsak time, is my fast still valid? We don't know. The calendar is also giving you imsak. So they're telling you, don't trust this time, trust this time. So that's the reason that imsak time exists on the calendar, is that they're saying, listen, I can't guarantee that this time your fast will be valid. So this is why I'm giving you imsak, to make sure that your fast is valid. So same thing. If you can, for example, the only reason I know that Hui Foundation, that this was done, is Marhum told us that I did this work and this is why my timing is different, and why the timing of Hui Foundation is different than everybody else's. Marhum, may Allah give him Jannah. You know, he was such a pious man. On the day of Eid al-Fitr, he recited Ziyarat Ashura and stood up for Eid prayers and died. He was that pious of a man. So he did this work. So we know that timing of Fajr is precise, but I can't tell you about anybody else. I don't think anybody else. Everybody else just uses a calculation method, and that's why they give you imsak, is that they say, don't trust the time of Fajr that we're giving you, trust the time of imsak that we're giving you. Okay? We have 11 open questions. Okay, let's finish our presentation, then we'll come back to the rest of these questions as well too. And in the meanwhile, you guys can upvote what you guys want to take a look at, because we actually, I do have a 10-question Kahoot at the end of this too, just for fun. No trick questions in there either. All right? Very quickly. Is spirituality a skill or a talent? Right? The difference between a skill and a talent is, a skill is something that anybody can develop. And a talent is something that you're either born with or you're not. And it's something that's often debated, that, are certain things skills or are certain things talents? Like, is it that, if I can't do it now, I'll never be able to do it because it's a talent that either you possess it or you don't? Or is it a skill? Spirituality is something that exists with every human being. It's not a question of skill or talent. Every human being possesses spirituality. Why? Because you have a spirit. Every human being is alive. That means you have a spirit inside of you. So therefore, you have a level of spirituality that exists. It's a question of, do you want to develop it or not? So, for example, any part of the body. I have biceps, triceps, neck muscles, back muscles, calf muscles, all these different things that exist within my body. I possess the ability to train each one of these. If someone asks you, are your calf muscles skill or talent? It's like, Baba, they're calf muscles. I have legs, I have calf muscles. The same way I'm alive, I have a spirit. It works, it's there. So the aspect of what spirituality is making that part of my being healthy. Spirituality is the quality of health that my spirit possesses. The more the health my spirit possesses, the more spirituality I possess, the more awareness of my spirit that I possess. So which is why there are some elements that, for example, some people, right, the shape of their muscles is more prettier than other people. Does that mean that other people don't? No, everybody has that muscle. It may look better on somebody, but everybody possesses it. In the same way, for example, spiritual awareness is something that someone can have more of and somebody can have less of naturally. But everybody has it as long as you're alive. If you have a pulse, you have some level of spirituality. It can't go away. If it goes away, you're dead. Let's be very honest about that, right? How does the month of Ramadan impact our spirit, right? In a human being, my spirit is constantly in a state of competition with my body for resources. That a human being as a being, if it's working on my body, it can be ignoring my spirit. And the same way then when I need to nourish my spirit, at times I need to ignore my body. What Shahr Ramadan does is it adjusts the balance. For 11 months out of the year, I'm constantly focused on eating, drinking, and fulfilling my physical functions. Shahr Ramadan flips it. It says, ignore your body, now pay attention to your spirit. 11 months out of the year, you gave priority to your body. You did everything your body needed first, and then you thought of your spirit. Now in this month, think of your spirit first and your body later. And what that does is, it teaches us to be more aware of our spirit, more conscious of the spirit that's present, because the act of, for example, foregoing food and water is an act of spiritual consciousness. It is your spirit that is demanding and insisting that your body not do these things that it intentionally wants to. Otherwise, for example, an animal, it doesn't think when it's hungry. It doesn't decide, I don't want to eat. It says, no, I'm hungry, I'm going to go eat. A human being, by the power of the spirit that we possess within us, can look at a physical need and say, no, I don't want to do this. And what prevents the body from acting is the spirit. So which is why when we starve the body, when we refuse to give the body what it needs, we're empowering and improving the ability of the spirit. And this is why Shahr Ramadan is a month in growing the spirit, because I'm actively, constantly, for a period of 30 days, refusing to listen to my body. I'm denying my body. How am I denying my body? I'm denying my body by the power that my spirit possesses within me. Otherwise, the natural reaction is, I'm hungry, I eat. I'm thirsty, I drink. And I'm avoiding that. Why should I grow this spirit? It improves my awareness of Allah. The same way that Allah is beyond the 5 physical senses, I can't interact with Him by the use of my hands, my feet, my eyes, my taste, my smell, my sound. The awareness of Allah is a spiritual awareness that we possess. And by growing the spirit, our consciousness of Allah increases. And this is where, for example, one of the ways that we know that a spirit is active within us is that, do I feel bad when I do something wrong? And do I feel good when I do something right? This attribute that the spirit knows how to do this, Allah describes in Surah Shams. In Surah Shams, Allah gives us this explanation. He says, وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا, and the soul and Him who made it perfect. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا, and He inspired it to understand what is right from wrong. Meaning the spirit's natural state is that when I do something good, it feels good. And when I do something bad, it feels bad. This is something that I can improve and increase, or something that I can kill in myself, that I don't listen to this voice inside of me anymore. A man came to our Prophet and said, Ya Rasulullah, teach me everything that's good and everything that's bad. And he assumed by making this statement he would tie up the Prophet. Why? Because sometimes, for example, killing a person is a bad thing. Sometimes killing a person is a good thing. That's an extreme example. But the idea is that you can take the same action. Driving a car can sometimes be a good thing. Driving a car can sometimes be a bad thing. That's a better example. In that sense, he thought he would tie up the Prophet in trying to give complicated answers, and the Prophet would say, well, for example, feeding a person is a good thing, and the person was like, haha, if he says that, I'll say, what if the person's Hitler? Then it's a bad thing, isn't it? I'm giving you an example for myself. And the Prophet simply touched his chest and said, what your heart agrees with is good, and what your heart disagrees with is bad. And that was the point, that naturally we possess this ability. This is why Allah then specifies, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Success is the one who purifies this ability that you possess within yourself. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. And the loser and the failure is the one who indeed corrupts this ability that exists within our heart. So our growth of spirituality, our natural tendency to grow spirituality in this month, comes from the fact that, again, we're denying the body, and that growing of that spirituality, one of the consequences is it'll help us improve to stay away from sin and to do good deeds. So there are some activities in this month to raise your spirituality, right? There are some things in this month that if you do them consciously, aside from simply not eating and drinking, you will improve your spirituality. And the first of these, don't spend too much time on social media. Let me explain something. No one ever said social media is good for you. No one. As a matter of fact, the only thing that we know for certain, is if you spend more than 3 hours a day on social media, you will go into depression. It's the only fact I have for you. Everything else, the jury is still out on. The natural reaction that we have is when I can't feed my stomach, I feed my eyes. And the same way that, for example, what's the most fun kind of food you can eat? Junk food. The most fun kind of thing you can do with your eyes? Junk food. And that's social media. There is no particular benefit from it. It is designed to waste your time. It is designed to make sure you are absolutely useless. Think about it this way, right? If I made Instagram, if I made TikTok, the only time I make money is when you're looking at Instagram and TikTok. So how am I going to design Instagram and TikTok? So that you're constantly looking at Instagram and TikTok. It has nothing to do with anything that's good for you. The only thing I'm interested in is that you keep this app open as long as you physically can on your phone, because as long as it's open, I'm getting a benefit. Be careful. Stay away from it. Reduce it. Try to find other activities. Same thing with all of these games that you have on your phones. And this is the other thing, right? One of the things I've noticed, everybody gets their high score in Ramadan. Every high score comes in Ramadan. Why? Because since I can't eat, I can't drink coffee, my brain isn't working, let me just sit here and play games on my phone. All of these things are not designed with your benefit in mind. It doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean they're horrible. But you have to control yourself, because it won't let you control yourself if you don't. Same thing with avoiding TV and distractions. Our common reaction is that while I'm fasting, it's hard for me to focus. Without caffeine, I'm completely useless. I understand that. But if I want to grow my spirituality, it's going to be a conscious effort. The same way I'm making the conscious effort not to eat and drink, I have to make the conscious effort to grow myself and to change my behavior, and that means avoiding these other inputs as well too. Quran is something that resonates with the spirit. Even if it's stuff that I already know. Open the Quran, look at the pages, and it's something that resonates with my spirit and grows my spiritual ability. Dhikr and prayer, all these statements that are in Arabic, you may say that I don't understand what they mean. But again, the same way I may not understand how medication works, it works in my body because it's beneficial. The same way I may not understand the words that I'm saying, but they have a resonance with my spirit. And if I'm already empowering my spirit, I will see changes in my life by staying focused on these elements. Practicing self-control. Do not beat your children in Ramadan. Do not pick fights with people in Ramadan. Do not yell at people in Ramadan. Do not be hangry in Ramadan. Try really hard. That self-control beyond simply eating and drinking is a really important element to develop, and it takes a lot of work. Honestly, consciously think about how often do I get angry? What do I get angry about? One of the most empowering things that I found in my own life is when I get angry, I try to write down what am I angry about. 90% of the time, 10 minutes later when I look at it, I'm like, that's the dumbest thing in the world. There's no reason for me to be angry about this. Why? It's an emotional response. I need to learn to control my emotion. Anger is not going to help me solve the problem at hand. It's going to make it worse. That's why self-control is a very conscious effort. It's something you have to work on. There's no limit to say that a child has less, maybe naturally they do. But in conclusion, the person who works on it is the one who improves their self-control. It doesn't just come by age. It takes work and effort. Being positive in social environments. Be complimentary. The American or the English image, if you have nothing to say, then don't say anything. Yeah, okay. But if I knew that me giving a compliment is going to earn me thawab with Allah, and I get even more thawab in the month of Ramadan than any other month, then I need to be thinking about this and being positive in these processes and thinking about how do I make this a good thing. Helping others without wanting recognition. This one's really important. This one's really important. Let me try and see if I can figure out how to explain this correctly. And if you get this concept, I don't think I need to talk to you about anything else. When we do something good, the nafs, the soul, has a desire to be known. It wants to be recognized and acknowledged. So when we do something good, we look for people to appreciate us. And you know this is true that, for example, if I did something good for somebody and they didn't appreciate me, do I want to do something good for them a second time? They didn't say thank you. You didn't say thank you, why should I do it again? That they didn't say thank you, they didn't acknowledge me is my nafs. Wanting and saying that I need appreciation from the person that I did this from. What's happening is my natural reaction is the one that I did the action for, I'm doing ibadat of that person. If I'm expecting them to acknowledge me. If I'm expecting them to give me something in return for me doing a good deed, is me doing ibadat of that person. Ibadat should only be of Allah. Meaning the only person that I want something in compensation from is from Allah, not from people. Learning this trait means that when I do something good, if someone doesn't appreciate me, I don't care. Because I didn't do it for them, I did it for Allah. That lesson is a really hard and complicated lesson to teach because we have this natural idea that when we're not appreciated, we don't want to continue with the action that we're doing. But if you can learn that process in developing your spirituality, that I am doing this for the sake of Allah, I don't want people to appreciate me. I'm not looking for appreciation. I don't mind if they appreciate me, if they don't appreciate me. Why? You're not my God. I didn't do this action for you to reward me. I did this action so Allah would reward me. If you can get that one concept, you're golden. Nobody can move you in life. You'll do everything great and perfect. You have nothing to worry about. But it's a really tough lesson to learn, and it takes time and devotion. One of the months that we get better at this is the month of Ramadan. Clean the table outside after people eat. Don't wait for a reward at the end of the month. serve people food before you eat, even if that means that I won't get food. Why? Because it's something Allah appreciates. Clean the masjid even when no one's expecting me to. Why? Because I did it for Allah, not for people to appreciate. It's really difficult. But the beauty of the reward, and I'll tell you the beauty of the reward, and if you understand this, you'll love it, right? Our Prophet made a statement. He says, for every mu'min you serve in this life, Allah creates one servant for you in heaven. I do a good deed once, I get a servant in heaven forever. Forever. I serve a person once today, a servant in heaven forever. So the compensation is way out of balance. So forget about people's appreciation. Forget about it, because they're never going to compensate you what you... Look at what Allah is compensating. You served one believer one time, slave in heaven. And no restriction on what that slave does for you either. So they'll clean toilets too, it's not a problem. Not that you need a toilet cleaner in heaven, but it's beside the point. The same way we talked about the idea that spiritual growth comes through starving the body, sleep less, eat less than your fill. One of the natural reactions is when this body is satiated, the spirit is buried. Don't satiate your body so that your spirit stays awake. Those who are the worshippers of Allah, they stay awake at night and they fast in the days. What? They starve the body more so the spirit stays awake. The more you satisfy the body, the more it deadens the soul. So in this month, when it comes time to open your fast, try. Eat a little bit less than when you stop before you're full. At night, wake up a little bit earlier. At night, stay awake a little bit longer. Not to watch TV, not to watch Instagram, but do some kind of ibadah. Push yourself. Reduce these things in this month just a little bit more. You will see, I can give it to you in writing. The reason Allah prescribed 30 days of fasting is that at the end of these 30 days, you can see the difference if you make an effort. So we can accomplish a lot of really good things, and that's it. Plan now, prepare now, do work now, so that we can take advantage of this month when it comes forward. All right? Kahoot. Anybody want a Kahoot? And here's our pen. I'm going to freeze it on this, and I'm going to take a look at some questions in the meanwhile. So I can answer some questions while you guys log in and sign in for this. So, wait, where is it? You guys, okay, good. You guys are stuck there. Okay, good. We do? What do we got? 50 what? I'm playing Kahoot. Okay, we have a bunch of questions. I'm going to answer a few of these questions. Can you discuss food waste during Ramadan? It is disheartening to see entire samosas and naan and other food in the trash at BQ during dinner. This is that same concept of, for example, right, the satiation of the eyes, and that's it. Wasting food is a sin. Asraf is a sin. It does have consequences to it. And same thing, a bite of food that I take away from someone who deserves it, I have to answer for. So it is something to pay attention to. It is something to stay away from. Be careful about not wasting food. Whether I do it selfishly or for others, it's something that has a consequence. Should I open them up? You're going to play?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I didn't make the food thing.
Wow, look at that. Are they all the same? Oh, okay. All right, okay. Wow, look at that. Beit al-Qayem is a generous sentiment. I appreciate it. Okay, so we discussed food waste. Please do be careful. Do be conscious. It's better to go up for a second time than to waste even one bite of food. Can a woman do extra fast before Ramadan as precaution for the days that she will miss during Ramadan? So no, you can't bank days. The same way you can't bank prayers. Like I can't pray Zohar before the time has come. I can't do a wajib fast before it becomes wajib upon me. I can do acts of ibadat that are good, but I can't say that, oh, this year I may miss 5 fasts, so let me fast now. No. Once the fast becomes wajib, then it becomes wajib to perform, and then it is either performed or it has a qada with it. So we can't, for example, fast before the fast is due. Does the bleeding of the gums due to brushing teeth or flossing make the fast void? No. If there's a lot of blood, spit it out. If it's something that mixes in with the saliva in such a way that, for example, it's barely noticeable, you don't have to spit it out, it's not considered to be relevant. But if it's, like globs of blood, yeah, spit it out and see a dentist. What tool, resource, website do you use for salat time and imsak time? There's something called praytime.info, which is pretty good. There's an app that was created called Nasimco. Nasimco is an app that you can find on your phone. North American Shia Ithna Shari Muslim Community, NASIMCO. They did it where it's regionally specific and it's fairly accurate, where it goes by township, and they've taken praytime.info and pulled in all that information and pulled it in. And the app updates by regional location, so as you move from town to town, you can refresh it and it'll update the timings for you. And it has a good resource that I use as well too. So the NASIMCO app I found to be pretty good and pretty consistent. Anywhere around the country I found it to be useful. In the past I haven't eaten till the time of Fajr, even though I was aware of the time of Imsak. How does this impact the validity of my past fast? Allah knows. I unfortunately don't, and that's it. The reason that we use Imsak is for that exact fact that we don't know, did I make a mistake or not? Inshallah, there's no mistake. Inshallah, it's again, it's a precaution. The other thing is let's say Imsak is for 15 minutes. Even if I stop 5 minutes before, it's still a good precaution. 15 is that absolute precaution. Even if it's a little bit, it's better than nothing. To do something is better than nothing. What is the calculations for Imsak? Usually it's 10 to 15 minutes before the time of Fajr, and it depends regionally where they have confidence of when Fajr sets in. We'll do one more and then we'll get to our Kahoot, and then we can do more questions after this. If I don't remember whether I paid Fidya for the fast that I missed, say 10, 15 years ago, is it okay to pay Fidya as an Ihtiyat? Absolutely. It's a good thing. Ihtiyat is always good. Precaution is always good. All right? We'll do some more of these questions in a few minutes. Let's go back and see. Ooh, look at this. We got a whole bunch of people. All right. Okay, are you guys ready? Oh, I got on free. Sorry. I'm like looking at all these people on the screen and you guys can't see it. 41 people. Okay, 40 people. All right, everybody ready? Oh, people are leaving. Let's start. What's happening? Okay, preparing for a Ramadan workshop. I'm like, why isn't it starting? The Holy Prophet said, your breath in the month of Ramadan is bad smelling, ibadat, Quran or tasbih. Haha, now I get to see who was paying attention. I drank coffee, I'm awake. Hopefully for the sake of $35, you are too. $40 people, are we done? 2, 1, I'll let it run out. Okay. 17. Nifasukum fihi tasbih, nawmukum fihi ibadah. Your sleep is ibadah, your breath is tasbih. I tricked a whole bunch of you. All right, ready? Let's go. Oh, okay, all right, okay. 2, what surah tells us the Spirit knows right from wrong? Was it Surah Baqarah? Was it Surah Qadar? Surah Alaq? Surah Shams? So far I've seen that half of you weren't paying attention, so let's see how many are. Wait, how do we only have 39 people, how do we have 43 answers? Oh, look at that, 24. We're still at about half paying attention. Okay. All right, Surah Shams. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْحَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. Let's see. Wow, Zahra Zaidi holding on. Zahra Zaidi was awake. Reading one verse of the Quran in Ramadan is equal to reading the whole Quran another month. All the rewards of heaven, sleeping with wudu, feeding a poor person. If you get this wrong, I'm calling you Jorge. Okay, we have 5 Jorges. Reading the whole Quran in another month. One verse of Quran is the equivalent of reading the whole Quran in another month. All right, look at that. Yo, you guys are going to have to work it up, man. Zahra's kind of locking in your spot here. What should people do if they don't have food to open someone's iftar? It was from the hadith of the Prophet. Borrow money. Give them candy instead. Punch them. Provide even a drink of water. If anyone picks punch them, their name's definitely Jorge. It's not hatred. Ah, there is a Jorge! Even a drink of water. Even a drink of water. Iftar means you're having money to buy food. Even if you don't have any money to buy food, just go pick up a cup of water. Okay. Hack pilot's moving up too. All right, okay. All right, 5, we're halfway there. The month of Ramadan prepares us for the rest of the year by teaching us to try other cuisines, Teaching us to have self-control, serving other people this month, overeating when we open our fast. Do not waste samosas, they are very special. All right, is that, okay, now we have 42 respondents. Okay, teaching us to have self-control, very good, very good. All right, okay. You're going to have to work hard now. Fast answers. All are good reasons to fast except good health, learning patience, showing off how long we can go without food, and attaining piety. All right. Showing off how long we can go without food. All right, like I said, no trick questions. It's pretty straightforward. All right. We still have people moving up. I don't know. Which of the following does not break your fast? Eating, drinking, swimming, lying about the Prophet. Ah, there we go. Swimming does not break your fast. Submerging your head completely in water, according to some ulama, does void your fast. However, according to Sayyid Sistani, it's makruh. So it's ihtiyat wujuban according to some, but swimming in general is fine. But don't put your head underwater. All right? If I missed a fast, I have to pay fidya, which is equal to feeding 10 poor people, 750 grams of food, 1 sheep, a day worth of food. So I'm assuming you guys have to listen because I don't think anybody really knew what fidya, how much fidya was before this. So we'll find out how many people. Okay, most people are paying attention. All right, 750 grams of food. All right. Any movement? No? Zara has a hack pilot. What happened, man? All right, 9. There's only 10 questions. You can receive an injection and your fast is still valid. True or false? You can receive an injection. You can even receive an IV of fluids and your fast is still valid. Should you? Probably not, but you can. All right, I think this is the last question. Final question. True or false? Using an inhaler for asthma breaks your fast. Wow, those are really quick answers. Like everybody, click, 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 click. Everybody wants the prize. Now we're down to 40 people from 43. Okay, it's okay. I'm okay. I don't take it personally that you quit in the middle. Okay, you can. For asthma, you can. 38. All right, let's see. What do our results look like? Hack Pilot, number 30, third place. Zara in second place. Zara held on from the beginning. All right, let me give out these rewards, and then we'll answer a couple more questions tomorrow. Okay. Where's Hack Pilot? Where's Hack Pilot?
Right here.
Is there Hack Pilot? Back here? Dude, what happened? I don't know.
Eventually come to me.
Zara?
She's Zara. I'm Zara.
Okay, wait, hold on.
No, it was Zara.
Zaidi, you're Zaidi.
I'm Zara.
You're in first place. You're in second place. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali. Okay. We'll go through a couple more questions. and then we'll wrap up. I don't know what this is. Okay, let's do that. Let's go back to this. Okay. All right. If Ramadan requires refraining from sin and I don't wear hijab, which is a sin, are my fast and ibadat still accepted? Should I even fast if I'm sinning? Yes, your fast is still accepted. It's important to understand that a fast is wajib on everybody. Everybody performs that fast. The only things that void that fast are those 8 items that we listed. I can commit a sin other than those 8 fasts and my fast is still valid. So just because, for example, one sin is committed doesn't mean that the whole fast is thrown out. Only those 8 things break a fast. So yes, it is still wajib to, it is still requirement to fast. It is still something you have to do regardless. If, for example, in this situation where, for example, we're acknowledging and we're saying that, that this is a sin that I don't wear hijab, it's a good thing to have conversations. And same thing, there are some, look, let me be very honest with you. Some conversations you can talk to me about and I can fix. But when it comes to things like hijab, when it comes to things like, for example, women's issues, we need to empower women in our communities to be able to stand up and be able to be those role models and who help make this easier because they have a better understanding. As much as I can understand Islam, I'm not a woman. I can tell you it's wajib, it's good, it's an important thing to do. But understanding the minutiae of it, the difficulties of it, will be something that, for example, being able to speak to another woman about it is something that will help kind of give us guidance. And same thing, if we're coming to the acknowledgement that there's a shortcoming in my actions, one of the ways that we solve a shortcoming, something that's wrong that we're doing, how do we solve it? Sometimes seeking counsel, having somebody that we can look up to and have a conversation with is really beneficial for us to solve some of these problems. So yes, it is still wajib to fast. There's still a reward for fasting. It is still something you have to do, and it will be rewarded in spite of the shortcomings that we as individuals have, all of us have. Is it better to read Quran, du'as in Arabic or in English? Which will help me better understand it? Both. This question of exclusivity, either this or either that, is a bad question. Use both. It may mean that I read less Quran, but I understand it more. That means that each verse that I read has more value. There's actually a really interesting discussion that talks about which is better, recitation of Quran or dua. Both are really, really important. Both should be done. In the month of Ramadan, reciting Quran is very important, but in general, dua is incredibly important. Incredibly important and should not be downplayed. And we'll talk more about that, inshallah, sometime when Allah gives us tawfiq. But do both. Do less in Arabic if you do less in Arabic, but do both. Don't step away from it. Can a woman on her menses read and finish the Quran? You can read every verse of the Quran except for the 4 wajib sajdas in the Holy Quran. So a woman in her menses can read all of the Quran except for the 4 wajib sajdas. Outside of that, you can read all of it. If you read the Quran, for example, from your phone, you don't even need wudu. What I recommend and what's recommended is open the physical Quran, not just your phone. There's a difference between using digital books and physical books. A digital book is great if I'm looking something up, but a physical book is better if I want to read it because I will be exposed to more information. I can look around and I can find things in it. Holding the Quran and the etiquette of holding the Quran is very important. Even a woman in her menses can hold the Quran. You can't touch the words of the Quran. And if I need to touch the words of the Quran to be able to read it, you can put on a glove. Doesn't have to be one of those plastic surgical gloves, but just a glove in general, that if I touch the words of the Quran, my menses, because touching the words of the Quran requires, it's wajib to have wudu to do it. And in a state of hey, you can't have wudu, or wudu it doesn't work in that sense. So what I do is, you can still read the Quran, just not those 4 verses of wajib such that. Okay? What about brushing teeth while fasting, keeping your breath fresh during the fasting? Absolutely fine, absolutely halal. Just not with mince and gum, but definitely with brushing, go for it. Please brush your teeth. Please. I saw a video saying that taking a shower while fasting breaks your fast, or taking a shower not swallowing the water. Is that true? No, it does not. You please shower as well. Showering is entirely permissible. There are certain things, for example, let me explain. I don't know where this video came from, but one of the things that taking a hot shower, if it causes weakness, that you feel dizzy or tired afterwards, becomes makruh. So some people, for example, when you're hungry and you take a hot shower, it can make you dizzy. It can make you feel sick. Don't do it then. If it causes weakness in the body, shower after you open your fast, but shower. But if it causes weakness in the body, if it makes me feel tired, if it makes me feel weak, don't do it while fasting. It becomes makruh. But it's not haram to do that. You can definitely do that. If you're a diabetic and cannot fast, what other ibadat can you do? Simply paying that fidya is an ibadat within itself. And same thing, at that point in time, fasting is not desired from you. If my fasting is compromised because of my health, it's not desired from me anymore. It's not desired for me to fast. And doing all of the other ibadat of the month of Ramadan will give me the reward for, as if someone who has fulfilled their obligation. Because Allah has not obligated fasting, doing all of the other ibadat in that month will give me the reward. And it's not matlub. But again, certain types of diabetics, certain types of type 2, not type 1, certain types of type 2 diabetics can create a plan with a nutritionist and with your physician to adjust medications, to adjust treatments so that you can fast. Some of them can, not all of them. But it's something you have to ask for. If you don't ask the physician, he's not going to create that possibility for you to perform this action. You have to discuss and then try. And same thing, if the days are really long and I can't fast in, for example, March, April, May, June, because the days are too long for me to fast as a diabetic, that doesn't mean I don't fast at all if I can fast in the month of December or in the month of January when the days are shorter. So having this conversation, being conscious about having this discussion, will help me find solutions that are good for me, and I should look for those solutions to make sure I take advantage of them. All right, we're almost done. If someone is on a spaceship, when you're on a spaceship, we'll talk. All right? Get on the spaceship and then call me. How do I know if my spirituality is actually growing? So, which is why we mentioned knowing the difference between right and wrong, being conscious and feeling positive when I'm doing good deeds, feeling bad when I do something wrong, not having the desire to commit sin is a sign of spiritual growth. That's something that, for example, used to interest me, now I don't find it interesting, or something I don't have the desire to lie, to yell, to curse, to cheat, to steal, are all concepts of improving spirituality. The purpose of the spiritual growth is it keeps us away from sin. That's why we said, وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا. Allah taught it right from wrong. And the one who purifies it so that your nafs takes you more towards right, that's spiritual growth. And spiritual loss is where I can't tell the difference between good and bad, and I'm happy to commit sin and it doesn't make a difference to me. All right? So that's how we know, is that I don't want to do bad things. I want to stay away from sins. How much time before Fajr is imsak? So again, it depends regionally. So what I found is that some places to the north there, imsak is shorter, and places to the south, to the middle of the earth where they can't identify that time as clearly, imsak is typically longer. But each city and environment will have a different concept of imsak based upon the confidence they have on being well aware of what sunrise actually is. So typically, you want to stop about 10 minutes before Fajr, typically. I have seen places where it's 15 minutes that they stop, but 10 minutes is a sufficient precaution in general. And then finally, if a person is secretly non-religious but forced to fast by family, does it count? Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, all of us are in a process of growth and change. Sometimes we choose and we start the process of growth and change, and sometimes we don't have the strength to it and we're pushed to. We're pushed. Which is one of the reasons why community is so important. And benefiting and being a part of a community is so important, because what that does is some of the things that maybe I'm not strong enough to do on my own, having a community around me, a positive community around me, a supportive community around me, will push me to be a better person. Whatever brought me to khair, Allah will reward me for that good deed regardless of how I got there. And which is why, if I find a shortcoming in myself, find good friends. Find good people to be around. Find positive environments to be around, and they will help me grow. A good friend is not someone who just supports me regardless of what I do. A good friend is someone who I become a better person when I'm around them. And let me tell you something. It's one of the greatest bounties that Allah gives you in life is a good friend. You're not going to get it without asking. Ask Allah for good friends. And that's it. Maybe through the pressure of my friends, I'll do something good. Allah will still reward me. It's still a good thing to do. It's still a positive thing to do. And pray you find friends in your life that help you do good things. One of the final points that I'll make on friends is, this is something that's a social conventional mistake. We look at friends as our peers, meaning people in our age group. Ideally, your friends are not just in your age group. Your friends are older than you. Your friends are younger than you. Why? Because sometimes the difficulty that I go through, I need the experience of someone who's been through this phase already to help me. Someone who already raised their children can help me when I'm raising my children. Or sometimes, for example, to feel the confidence to help guide someone to a good action when that friend is younger than me. It forces me to be the better example and forces me to be a good support in that process. And it also gives me the confidence that as I help him through issues, that I went through this, I can get through this. Your friend group should be people above and below you, not just your friends. Because let me tell you something, if I'm struggling with something, so are my friends. Because they don't know any more than I do. So which is why, make sure your friend circle is varied. Bigger groups of people in your life, older, younger. Ask Allah for these good friends. Talk to people that are outside of your comfort zone. You never know who you're going to connect with, and having those friends outside of your comfort zone will always be a positive thing to be helpful. Okay, we're done. I think we went a little longer than I wanted to, but I enjoyed talking to everybody. I had a good time. Hopefully you guys did too. Any other questions before we finish up without Slido? Everybody's good? All right, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. All right, you're free.